Today we're going to talk about VMT, which stands for Vehicle Miles of Travel. We're first going to touch on why it's important. Then we're going to look at a few of the sources to get VMT data from. Finally, we'll look at what VMT has done over time according to one of those sources, the NHTS, a survey conducted by the Federal Highway Administration. So first off, what is VMT, or Vehicle Miles of Travel? A vehicle mile of travel is the movement of one privately operated vehicle for 1 mile, regardless of the number of people in the vehicle. So what that means is VMT counts the number of miles on a given trip, but only counts it once. Ultimately, it approximates the number of miles driven by each personally owned vehicle, like a car, SUV, or pickup. Why is VMT important? First, VMT is the most basic measure of the highway system. Along with the weight of a vehicle, the number of miles driven determines the wear on the road, thus the need for maintenance, such as resurfacing and repaving highways. VMT also provides exposure for safety measures. So when you hear things like the current fatality rate in the US is 1.5 fatalities per 100 million miles, the denominator is VMT. Let's take a brief look at a few sources of VMT available for the United States, all of which are provided by the Federal Highway Administration. First is traffic volume trends, which is a monthly source based on state traffic counts. It uses the Highway Performance Monitoring System and automated traffic recorders to determine month-to-month VMT by state and roadway class for all vehicles. Similarly, the Highway Statistics VMT numbers, found in the VM1 table and elsewhere, use the same types of information to determine annual VMT for states and roadway types. The last source listed, the NHTS, surveys households every 5 to 7 years and computes annual VMT based on survey responses. Its numbers exclude commercial travel, but it is the only national source of VMT that will allow you to say, measure VMT by age and gender, which, going back to the exposure measures, is particularly helpful in determining fatality rates for various subsets of the population. For more on how the NHTS is set up, please check out the Intro to NHTS video linked here. When we look at VMT numbers in the NHTS, we can see they've been growing steadily since the NHTS began in 1969. In 2009, U.S. households drove a total of 2.245 trillion miles. We should know that there was a change in methodology in 1995. Numbers for 1990 were adjusted to make them more compatible, but before that they weren't, so the dramatic increase between 1983 and 1990 is due at least in part to that change. Now, much is made of the increase in population in the last 30 years or so. As a percentage of 1969 numbers, the population of persons 5 and older has grown by a little less than 50%, as seen by the blue line. But in that same time frame, annual VMT, seen in red, has nearly tripled. We hope you've enjoyed our look at VMT and the FHWA NHTS. Thanks for watching.